Hi, everyone. Good morning, and thanks for joining us today, and of course, for your interest in the Luksic Scholarship for Public Service at the Blavatnik School of Government, University of Oxford. I will go ahead and get us started today and give you guys just a little snippet of what to expect in the event. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'll first provide you guys with just some brief information about the foundation. And then we'll hear from the team at the Blavatnik School of Government. We have here with us today Dr. Richenda Gambles. Thank you for being here, Dr. Richenda. She's the Director of Admissions. And we also have Beatriz Melendro, who's the admissions officer there at the school as well. So they'll provide us with information on the University of Oxford, the Blavatnik School of Government, what to expect, how life is there on campus, what they're looking for in prospective candidates, and they'll also provide details on the Luksic Scholarship and the application and financial aid processes, so you guys can have all of the information that you need on hand when going about deciding about the program and of course preparing for your application. We'll then hear from two special guests, Luksic Scholars, Sara Undurraga, who just started her program this year. She's there on campus. Thank you, Sarah, for taking the time. I'm sure you have a very busy schedule there with classes, but we appreciate you being here. And we also have Francisco Carrillo, who graduated from the MPP program in 2022 and has been on to great things. So he'll be able to share sort of his post-program experience with us. Just to let you guys know, we will share a recording of this webinar after the event, and it will also be made available online just in case you need to go back to any information. So the Luksic Scholars Foundation, who are we, what it is that we do? For the past 20 years, we've been providing Chileans with access to academic opportunities in order for you guys to help strengthen leadership, skill sets, knowledge. Our journey started in collaboration with the Harvard David Rockefeller Center for Latin American Studies. This program was to help support academics from Chile so they could go abroad, access the libraries and resources there at Harvard, for example, and really just start to put Chilean academia on the map. Since then, there have been many different programs we've implemented, over 30 to be exact, and this has been in partnership with 18 universities, of course, the University of Oxford being one of them. The programs have also been implemented over 7 different countries, so of course, Chile, China, Croatia, France, the US, and the UK. And as a result, there have been over 1,800 individuals who've participated. Then in 2019, we sort of started to look back and say, wow, we have about 1,000 scholars who participated. How can we connect them all? What can we do to provide them with post-program opportunities for further professional development, for example? And that's when we created the Luksic Scholars community. For that exact reason, to create sort of this wonderful network. And then the following year, we officially became a foundation. And so in the work that we do, we are guided by 3 principles, the first being country vision. So we want to make sure that all of our work, of course, aligns with Chile's development and needs, keeping in mind, of course, that today's challenges are global and interdisciplinary. Also connectedness, so seeking to create and strengthen bridges, not only within Chile, but also Chile and the world. And we do this by strategic collaborations with academic institutions like the University of Oxford. And then the last would be plurality. So making sure that a diverse range of talent and people are able to access these opportunities that we support, much like this information session, for example, or sharing with friends and colleagues who might be interested in a full scholarship, in a master's abroad, in public service. For example, Sarah, who's joining us here today, actually heard about the program. She attended the information session last year. So that's just an example of sort of us being able to make sure that you're provided with the information that you need. What is it that we do? We have 3 lines of work. The first, of course, is the master scholarships that we support, and this is to allow for the creation of trained experts and leaders in their field. So the Master of Public Service is so that it can essentially lend itself to creating leaders within this specific area. research funding, which is to support the development and promotion of local knowledge in order to better position Chilean academia. And then we have bespoke programs, which is to help train individuals in certain skill sets that will benefit their field. And then all of those who essentially participate in any of these three types of programs are then voluntarily invited to join the Luksic Scholars community, where we connect and engage with you. That's where sort of that post-program professional development comes in. We've organized gatherings here at the office, mini breakfasts, for example. We connect you with scholars, the other scholars who are going on your program, for example, so that you can get in touch with them. We get you in touch with previous scholars. So there's really sort of this, I would say, accompanying that there's a before, during, and after that we seek to provide you with. Of course, it's completely voluntary, but of course, if you end up becoming a Luksic Scholar, we would love to have you as part of the community. And as I finish today, more specifically on our collaboration with the Blavatnik School of Government, this is one of our longest standing relationships with programs related to public service. This began in the year 2014, and since then, 17 Chileans have received this support. There are 3 scholarships available each year for Chilean nationals, and these include pretty much everything. Tuition, you have a monthly living stipend for the living cost, relocation cost as well, such as getting there on campus, any accommodation deposits, flights, for example. And then specific for the MPP program at Oxford, we're also covering the summer project. So Beatriz will share a bit more on those details. But the idea behind these scholarships is that you're able to focus on your professional development and actually having fun on campus, rather than worrying about the financial aspect or having to try to find part-time work, for example. It is important to note, and Beatriz will touch on this, that all of the admissions and fund allocation processes are managed by the academic institution. So if you're looking to apply for the scholarship, for example, you will need to go through the full application and financial aid process that is managed by the Blavatnik School of Government. So thank you guys for being here. I will go ahead and pass it over to Dr. Richenda, who will tell us a bit more about the university and the school, and then to Beatriz.
Thank you so much, Gabrielle, and thank you for inviting us today to share information about what I think is our wonderful Master of Public Policy at the Blavatnik School of Government. So the Blavatnik School of Government is part of the University of Oxford. Obviously, the University of Oxford is the oldest university in the world, over 900 years of scholarship, teaching, research, and it's in a city that represents that. When you come to Oxford, you just are immersed in just so many old, beautiful, fabulous buildings, and it's a city that just oozes libraries, books, thoughts, so many amazing people from all around the world who are all coming together to think about issues, topics, things that are of such importance to them. And it's just such a vibrant city with just so much going for it and just so many fabulous people to meet and connect with. The University of Oxford is the oldest in the world. It's currently, and for quite a few years now, also been rated the world's best university. So we're just delighted to be a part of that. And the Blavatnik School of Government is one of its newest departments, which was launched in 2012. We're currently working with our 12th cohort of Master of Public Policy students. And the whole purpose of the Blavatnik School of Government was to bring together people from all around the world who are completely committed to wanting to make a really positive difference in the world through public policy. So we gather together a class of around 140 students each year from all over the world. As I said, this year we have people from over 60 different countries, and everybody that we bring in is united by a mission of public service, wanting to make a difference, and being people who have already demonstrated that they are change makers and people who are focused on making things happen. And we I think the most important thing about our Master of Public Policy is the student body and the people that we bring on. And we are so delighted that we have this partnership with the Luksic Foundation so that we can also bring people in from Chile. The vast majority of our students join us on scholarships, something we're really proud of. It means that the people who join us are the best and the brightest. They're not just the people who are willing and able to pay for it. And so, you know, we bring people through these wonderful scholarship opportunities. Once we bring people to the school, we focus on a number of taught sort of disciplines, but always with a very applied focus. So you come and you study philosophy, economics, law, politics, evidence. These are all core modules of the programme, but all designed to help you think about, what does this tell me about public policy and how to make a difference through public policy. We also have a number of practical policy skills, negotiation, finance, budgeting, and we have opportunities for people to explore the specific policy issues that they're of concern to them. So we have option courses that you do in your third term, and we have the summer project, which has already been mentioned, where at the end of the programme you find a topic that you're really excited about, join an organisation and work with an organisation to really apply what you've learnt on the programme to an issue of focus to you. It's a wonderful, wonderful programme. It's very intense, as I'm sure Sarah, who is here on the call with us, will be able to tell you. Francisco, as an alumni, will be able to tell you. It's incredibly intense, but it's a wonderful programme that I think has diversity at its core, diversity of the student body, diversity of perspectives, and the people that we bring on, we try very hard to make sure this is the case, are people who really want to come and listen to other people, learn from other people, learn from the experiences and the expertise that they have, to share it. And I think, you know, that everything that we teach through the curriculum, as important as it is, the most important thing is the discussions and dialogue that has with your fellow classmates. So we hope that that you are thinking about applying to the school. It's a wonderful programme, and I'm gonna end there, but just pass over to Beatriz, who's our wonderful admissions officer at the school, and she can now give a little bit more detail about the specifics of the programme, how to apply for the course, our sort of selection criteria, and also some information about the Luksic Scholarship Programme and how you could be considered for that. Thank you.
Lee, thank you very much, Richenda. I'll just quickly share my screen. Lovely. Hopefully you can all see that. So I'm Beatriz Melendro. I'm the admissions officer at the school, and really glad to be here to be able to tell you a little bit more about our school, our program, and the really generous and incredible opportunity of the Luksic Scholarships. So to start off, just to give you a little bit of an intro to our school, as Richenda's mentioned, it was funded in 2010. We admitted our first set of students in 2012. And we're welcoming our 12th cohort this September and 13th cohort next year. The school's one of the newest, most vibrant departments at the University of Oxford, and it manages to combine kind of the academic rigor and all of the history of the university with a much more modern, newer, applied real-world focus on our MPP. The school's mission is to inspire and support better government and public policy around the world, and we aim to do that in three main ways, which are teaching current and future leaders, research with impact, and then engaging with governments and practitioners. Of course, in admissions, we focus on the first point, which is the teaching of current and future leaders. So I'll go a little bit more in depth in the teaching. Of course, today we're going to be focusing specifically on the MPP program, as that's the one that we're able to offer the generous Luksic scholarships for. But we do have a number of other teaching that happens throughout the school. So just to kind of give you a quick run through them, we've got 3 graduate degree programs: the Master of Public Policy, MPP, the new MSc in Public Policy Research, and the DPhil program as well in Public Policy. We also have a number of executive education programs, things like executive leaders, a Rising Public Leaders program, and then a whole lot of other programs as well, such as military judgment and leadership and whatnot. And we also have a number of shorter online programs that are more aimed at busy professionals that want to start focusing more on public policy. So things like evidence in public policy, values in public policy, cybersecurity for public leadership, and so on. But of course, we'll be focusing on the MPP. So I'll start by giving you a bit of a taste to what our cohort looks like. This year, we've welcomed in September our group of 146 students, which of course we've mentioned Sarah is a part of. The group is made of students aged 21 to 42, so quite a big age range. We've got an almost 50-50 gender split. And as Richenda mentioned, our student community is always incredibly diverse. This year, we've got 57 different nationalities, or 60 if you count the dual nationals are represented. And almost every year, despite the huge diversity we already have in our cohorts, almost every year we welcome new countries that haven't been represented in the MPP. And this year we've got 7 new countries represented in our student cohort, which are listed on the slide. We're also really proud, as Richenda mentioned as well, to say that 90% of our students this year came with funding. That's 79% with full funding, so scholarships that cover at least their full fees, and an additional 11% with partial funding support. So next, I'll tell you a little bit more about the MPP program itself. Again, as we've mentioned, it's an intensive one-year program. It offers a distinctive approach to learning about public policy, and it combines kind of the academic side with the real world applied perspective of public policy. It's taught by academics as well as expert practitioners, and students are uniquely positioned to develop the academic knowledge and professional skills that they need to go on and address very complex public policy challenges that are out there in this day and age. So in this slide, you can see a structure of what the MPP program works. Just to preface this by saying in Oxford, the terms are divided into 3, and there's Michaelmas, Hilary, and Trinity term. This is just one example of the many of Oxford liking to use words that pretty much we're the only ones that use them. So as you can see in the first 2 terms, you've mostly got compulsory subjects in different areas of study, including policy challenge, foundations, economics, law course. In the 3rd term, you're then able to choose your optional modules. Every year, students get to pick from about 20 different options, and these change slightly every year. But some examples this year include things like challenges in policy design, challenges in tax policy, digital economy and regulation, governing the global economy, health and policy systems, and many more. Throughout the year, you also have some applied policy modules, which are also optionals you're able to pick from, as well as a careers and professional skills program, which are really helpful to help you acquire, develop, and enhance all of the professional skills that you need for after you finish the MPP program. Then over the summer, we've already mentioned briefly, there's the summer project. This is usually a minimum of 6 weeks of work placement with an organization that's engaged in some aspect of policy work. This could be either a government department, it could be a policy unit in a private sector organization, could be a not-for-profit or research institute. And as well as that, you can also alternatively do a placement where you're more reflecting on a policy challenge and doing more desk-based or written work under the supervision of an Oxford academic. The school does provide a lot of guidance and support in finding your summer project, but of course the students do also put in a lot of work, searching, applying, and doing everything they can to make sure that they secure the summer project that's right for them. So to talk a little bit about the Luksic Scholarship, we've already mentioned some of this. At the moment, we're able to award 3 scholarships each year to outstanding Chilean nationals that have offers to the MPP. So to be eligible, you have to be a Chilean national and ordinarily resident in Chile. The scholarship covers the full tuition fees, as well as a living allowance. a relocation expenses, so to help you with the costs of moving to Oxford. And then you can apply for the summer project bursary to support you during that part of the program. In terms of how to be considered and the process to apply for this scholarship, really happy to say you don't really need to do very much at all, luckily. As long as you apply for the MPP, if you get an offer, we'll send you, straight after we send you an offer, we'll send you a link to a scholarship questionnaire. This scholarship questionnaire is just a number of questions that we'll ask you to respond to, and it'll essentially help us determine which scholarships that we offer at the school you're eligible for. And then you'll be automatically considered for all of the scholarships you're eligible for, so long as you complete that scholarship questionnaire. So apply for the MPP, hopefully get an offer, and then if you complete that scholarship questionnaire, as long as you're eligible, you'll be considered for the award. And we've had, as we've already touched on, some really amazing students and come on the scholarship, and an amazing alumni community from the Luksic Scholars. So moving on more into the admissions processes for the MPP and the criteria. On this slide, we have our 3 academic requirements and selection criteria for the MPP program. So academic and analytical excellence, strong commitment to public service, and an ability to show leadership and have impact. Your application, every single part of it, every document you submit with it, should show a really strong record of this 3 criteria. And we'll assess your application holistically as a whole against this 3 criteria. In terms of the academic requirements, usually it's a first class or strong upper second class degree or equivalent. So for example, in terms of US equivalents, that's usually a 3.7 GPA out of 4. However, we'd say don't let that deter you. Particularly if, for example, you're not quite sure what the equivalence is for the degree that you have. As we said, it's all assessed holistically against all 3 criteria. So even if you're not 100% sure whether your academic record's exactly what the requirement is, as long as you can show really strong evidence of our other 2 criteria, that will really help bolster your application. We often get asked by people whether we can comment on whether they look like they meet the criteria, whether they look like what we think a successful MPP candidate is. And the reality is that there isn't one typical or ideal candidate, and that's because of the diversity of our cohort that we've already mentioned. We don't require a particular degree background, so we've got, you know, of course, people with political careers coming to the program, but we also have engineers, doctors, journalists, pretty much anything I think we've had on the MPP cohort by now. So everyone comes from different backgrounds professionally, but also, as we've mentioned already, in terms of culture, nationality, and age. So if you think you might not look like what you think an MPP student looks like, that's probably not right. And there is probably space for you to, you know, meet our entry requirements. The thing that all of our students will have in common, as I say, is these 3 requirements. So long as you have, as you're able to show that you meet these, you'll probably be able to make a really strong application. In terms of the application process itself, applications for the 2024-25 cohort opened in early September this year. The deadline to apply is the 5th of January 2024, but we do encourage everyone to apply as early as possible, and if possible before Christmas. This gives you a lot of time to ensure that you've got all the documents that you need to complete your application, and it also gives time to your referees to make sure that they have times to submit your references. It also gives us time to check your application, and if we notice that anything's wrong or anything's missing, we can get back to you, let you know, and you'll have enough time to kind of correct that. Whereas if you submit last minute, then there will be much less time for us to say, actually, you know, you could make this better. I won't go into a lot of detail into the set of documents that you need to submit with your application, because that's all laid out really well on our website. You'll see there that you need a number of documents, transcripts, and references in order to submit your application. But I will mention just a couple of things that we do tend to get a lot of questions about: transcripts, English language, and references. So on transcripts, you have to submit a copy of every degree transcript you have. So if you've done a bachelor and a master's, or a bachelor and 2 masters, or if you've just done a bachelor, it doesn't matter. You just have to submit all of your transcripts from previous study. If you studied not in English and your transcript isn't in English, you'll just have to submit the original as well as a translation, and that is not a problem at all. Then in terms of English language requirements, all Oxford students are asked to demonstrate a high level of English language proficiency, so you have to meet English language requirements. This will typically mean taking a test such as the TOEFL or the IELTS, and meeting the university's higher level requirements, which are on the slide. The test should be achieved no earlier than 2 years before the start of the program. So if you have an older test, unfortunately, it's not valid. But one thing to keep in mind is that you don't need to do the English test before you apply for the master's. So if when you're applying, you don't have an English language test yet, that's not a problem. You won't be at a disadvantage at all because your English language test doesn't come into consideration when we're assessing your file. However, if you do get an offer, you will get a condition of your offer, which is to complete an English language requirement, and then you'll have to take an English language test, and that'll be by May 2024. So if you don't have one now, you don't need to worry about it, but if you get an offer, you will probably need to do one then. There is a few grounds in which people are able to get their English requirement waived. However, this is very specific. It tends to be if you're a national and resident and have always been national and resident of a UKVI country, such as the UK. If you've very recently been studying in a UKVI country in English for a minimum of 3 years, or if you're a current Oxford student, but everyone else does need to take an English language test. Unfortunately, we do have to be quite strict on this, simply because in our experience, people that struggle with the English then come on the course really struggle with the program, and the university does require us to use this English language requirements. So there's not a lot of flexibility that we can offer. Finally, in terms of references, if you look at our website and how to apply, you'll see that you have to have 3 references, and one of them has to be academic at least. We do get a lot of people asking whether maybe they can just do 3 professional references, and we would discourage this. Of course, it's a very real world applied program, but it is still a very academically demanding program. And a reference from someone that's taught you higher education is really helpful for assessors, and it's something that they're really expecting to see. On top of that, if you've previously done a master's or you're currently studying a master's, one of the references should be from your master's supervisor or course director. If on your program there isn't specifically supervisors or course directors, you're welcome to use whatever you think is the closest approximation, but we will expect a reference from that type of position. So that's kind of a really express tour of the MPP and the admissions side of things. But also just a reminder that, of course, the school has a huge sense of community. There's loads of opportunities there. The MPP, as we've said, is quite intense and there's a lot going on at all times. But it's good to remember that when you come to the school, you'll also be part of the University of Oxford, and that opens a whole lot of other doors of opportunity, of things to do, events to go to, and people to meet. So I'll just give you kind of a little bit of information about the university and the colleges as a whole. So as you know, the University of Oxford, I'm sure you've heard, is a collegiate system. So every single student in Oxford, every single MPP student will be assigned to the college. That means that you're not just part of the school's global network of, faculty, staff, alumni, and students, but also the university's centuries-long history and your college's kind of community. In terms of Central University, they provide a huge range of facilities and support for students. So things like sport and fitness facilities, music, art, theatre provisions. You can get involved with so many different student groups and societies, from music, literature, sports, politics, drama, cultural groups. And there's a huge amount of opportunities for volunteering and getting involved in the community. At the start of the year, there's an annual Freshers' Fair, which is a really good opportunity to find out about all of the different opportunities and things that are going on. And then in terms of the colleges, which I think can be quite confusing for people that aren't used to the system, but even for people in this system, just to kind of clarify, there's 45 different colleges and halls at the university. Each of them are completely different. Some are more similar than others. Some are huge, some are quite small, and they're independent self-governing bodies. And they give students the benefit of belonging to kind of a smaller community. And they provide also facilities such as libraries, accommodation, kind of welfare space, sport, leisure activities. Every student is assigned to a college, and when you're applying, in your application, if you've started to apply, you will have seen it. You can pick if you have a preference from a college. If you do select a college, you're not guaranteed that you will get a place at that college, but you will be considered by that college first. If they make you an offer, that's great. And if they don't, you'll then be passed, your application will be passed to other colleges. It's, however, worth noting that you don't need to select a college when you're applying if you don't have a preference or if you don't know which one would be best for you. And whether or not you select a college will not affect your chances of getting into our MPP at all. We'll do all of the selection and admissions for the MPP. And if you get an offer, then your application will go to colleges. That being said, don't worry. Everyone that's on the MPP gets a college offer. And colleges, again, they're a huge opportunity for more kind of sense of community and facilities, but also for a lot of kind of welfare and lots of academic support as well. So again, I think that was really express, but hopefully it's kind of given you a taste of what the school, the MPP, the scholarship, and just the university as a whole is like. If you wanted to learn anything else about the MPP, please feel free to visit our website. If you have any questions, you can email us. I think it'll be on a slide later, but our email address is admissions@bsg.ox.ac.uk. We're really more than happy to answer any questions you might have. Do also check out our social media out if you're interested. And I will pass on to our scholar speakers now. I'll stop sharing.
Thanks, Beatriz. And thank you, Dr. Richenda, for all of that information. Something I think that's important to just highlight based on Beatriz's presentation is that it is a diverse student body there at the University of Oxford. You don't need to have a specific background, especially a specific academic background. It could be in education, in law, and economics, political science. It can be in science, health. So really just keep that in mind when you're considering this program. And then, yeah, we will now move on to the scholar experience part. We're very grateful to have two scholars on with us, Sara, who's the current student. So you get to hear her experience there actually on campus, just having started the program. And then we also have Francisco, who is a graduate. And so he'll sort of be able to give us that sort of post-program experience. What has he been up to since? So Sara, welcome. It would be great if you could start by just introducing yourself and telling us sort of your motivation of why Oxford and why the MPP program.
Okay, hello everyone, and thank you to the Luksic Scholars Foundations and BSG for the invitation to share about my experience. Well, my name is Sara Undurraga. I studied Ingeniería Comercial and a master's in economics at Universidad Católica. After my studies, I've always worked in the public policy area. I did an internship in the economic department of the OECD. Afterwards, I worked in the Ministry of Agriculture and in the Ministry of Labor. And after that, for the past 2 years, I worked in SOFOFA, Sociedad de Fomento Fabril, in the public policy department. I decided to apply to the MPP. Well, first I was looking for a program in public policy, but like a general program. I didn't want to maybe something that was too specific in one topic. And I liked BSG for many reasons. I like that the program has a professional focus more than an academic or theoretical one. All the contents we learn are always applied in real world challenges. I also like that the majority of my classmates have work experience, and that makes the discussions more interesting because they all come from very different sectors and they can talk about their experiences working. And we have a lot of discussions in class and people are usually talking about their work experience. Also, the cohort is very diverse, both like in nationalities, but also in academic and professional backgrounds and interests. You have people who have interest in all the things you can imagine. So there are many different views within the cohort, which generates debates and discussions in class, which are very interesting. I also like that, that this MPP has the opportunity to do a summer project, which not all MPPs have. And I think it gives you like a great opportunity of working for 2 months in an organization as part of the program. And well, also I chose this MPP because University of Oxford is amazing. By studying Oxford, you're also a member of a college, as they explained, which allows you to meet people like students and professors from other masters, which is very interesting too. And the university has this like intellectual environment that encourages you to participate in conversations and discussions, both inside and outside the classes. And also you have access to many different activities every day of other faculties and of other colleges, and also to other activities such as or formal dinners. I would say that studying Oxford is like a very unique all the other universities.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah, for sort of providing us with the reasons. Oh, can you hear us okay? I think the signal's going in and out just a bit, but hopefully you can hear us okay. I know that your classes, you recently got on campus, you started classes 4 weeks ago. Can you tell us a bit about the arrival process and what that support was like?
Yes, to be honest, for me, the arrival was very easy. The process to obtain the visa was easy and fast because the university sends all the information to the embassy and tells you everything you have to know. So you just go there, take a photo, and everything is ready. So when I was applying, a friend who was here gave me a great advice that it was to apply to the accommodation of university as soon as it opens, even if you're not sure you're coming here. And I did that, and it was great because I was able to secure a place to stay really soon. So I didn't have that problem that sometimes are people very nervous because they don't have where to stay until the last minute. So I would give you the advice to apply as soon as you can. You can find, like in the website, you can find a specific day that you can start applying, and you should do it on that same day. And also, I arrived only 2 days before the program because I thought that was okay because we had all the induction to have time to prepare for everything. But I would recommend you that if you can't do it, it's better if you can arrive maybe a week before because the induction is really intense. You have activities all day long and it's really fun, so you don't want to miss anything. So it's better if you can arrive before and then you have time to buy all the things you need and to do the specific things you have to do with your visa or things like that.
Perfect. And just as a last question to wrap up before we move on to Francisco, is there any, aside from the accommodation advice, Sarah, is there any other general advice or specific advice you would give to those who are looking for, who are looking to apply to the MPP program?
I would say that my main advice, like when you're deciding to which program to apply or to apply at all, I think it's very good to talk to a lot of people who have done different masters and ask them about their experiences, because there's some information that you won't find in the websites, and it's very important to have in mind. So if anyone here wants to ask me questions about the MPP after this session, please send me an email or call me. There are many differences between different, for example, even within the MPPs, there are difference in different universities. And I think it's good to talk to people to have more information before applying. And the other thing is that you should always apply. You should never stop from applying because you think you may not be able to get accepted, because it's always better to try.
Thank you, Sarda. Very inspirational. And We hope for those listening in that you really feel inspired and by Sara being there on campus, and that you're sort of getting all the information that you need on hand when exploring these international programs. We'll now go on to Francisco. Welcome. Thank you for being here with us today. It'd also be great, Francisco, if you could briefly introduce yourself and tell us why Oxford and the MPP program. Oh, you're still muted, Francisco.
Yeah.
No,
Thank you,
yeah.
Gabriel, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here, see many familiar faces. First of all, my name is Francisco. I'm an economist also. I've been working on the public sector for at least 10 years before going to Oxford. For me, it was always aspiration, study abroad, and a place like Oxford. It's not just about the academic environment. It's also because the program in particular offer multidisciplinary visions. In Chile, we tend to think that economists are very involved on the public policy discussion, but in Oxford, you can realize that there are people from so many specialities, so many careers. So it's a very rich environment to discuss and to learn from others. I think this is one of the reasons that I chose Oxford, because as Sara said before, in my case, I applied with 33 years old. So I wasn't young, but for me it was interesting to be part of a group of people that has experience working on public policy side, but also from other sectors. I met there people from private sector, finance, people from ONG sectors, people from different with different vision about the world. And when you are trying to apply your knowledge, I think it's a good. These programs allows you to go in deeper in this conversation, and it's very different from all other programs that you can see in the current offer of different masters, because as Beatriz and Richenda highlighted before, here it's not just about academics, it's also about make a change and how we design policies.
Thanks, Francisco. And can you tell us how has the program since sort of impacted or influenced your career and professional development?
Well, in so many ways, different from other countries, we don't have a real career of civil servant here. We depend mostly from the political cycle. So in my case, the MPP allows me to understand how to contribute to the policy discussion from different lenses. In my case, I started my own consultancy firm, and this is interesting because we are working very closely with private sector, but linking with public policies. So we are trying to and why I'm doing that, because in my case I was inspired by others in my cohort to solve public problems through different ways. So the MPP allows you not just focus on the government side, but also in other kinds of solution for, I don't know, climate change, poverty, inequality. So it's interesting, and I think the master give me the opportunity to create a new network. We are working now, for example, with people from other countries in Latin America. We share some of the problematics of the problems on the region, so we can the master gives you this opportunity to see how integrate different knowledge and that kind of things.
It sounds like it's really lent itself to sort of a continuation of your professional development, that you've taken those skills that the program has taught you and been able to create these networks, solve problems, and it's really great to hear. What advice would you give, Francisco, to those considering this program?
In terms to the application, first, I think,
or any advice. It can be
any advice. Well,
yeah.
I think you have to try. Sometimes Oxford sounds like, wow, I can go into Oxford, because it's a very well-known university with high standards. In my case, the English was a problem at the beginning, because Richenda remember that phase of my career, but it doesn't mean that you cannot try it. You have to try. You need to push harder sometimes to reach a specific goal. And this program is not about or just being the best of your class. It's always to how you can offer a different vision about how to solve problems. And I think part of the recommendation that Beatriz said before is, when you are making your application, you have 3 letters to write. It's not about to say, I'm the best on my class and I did that. It's how you see how to contribute to work with other people, solve problems. Why are you motivated to work with others, to learn from others? How open are you to questioning yourself, your basis? Because sometimes it's a matter of humble to open to listen others, and sometimes change your opinion. I don't know. It's not just about a good grade. Is more than that. And my suggestion is, try it. Be open to learn, that offer a contribution through work, teamwork, and that kind of things.
Thanks, Francisco. And I would say also for these programs, the admissions process can take time of collecting the information that you need. If it feels rushed this year, apply next year. This program will always be here. And of course, there's additional information and advice on the Blavanik School of Government's website as well. So that is a great resource. We'll now go into the question portion for the last few minutes.
Sorry,
so guys, yeah, go ahead.
I think maybe it's important, and never is too late. I don't know how old are the people that are seeing this, but never is too late. I mean, one can think that because we are less of 30, you can apply because the timing is perfect. But I apply with more age, and I had some of my classmates, even older, and they were open to learn also.
Right, because the graduating years here are about your 27, 28, the careers are a bit longer. So that is good advice and good to keep in mind. Well, thank you, everyone. I see that there is one question that Vicente has to Francisco and Sara, and he asks, what's the hardest part of the application? Also, is there something that you would like to know before? Hardest part of the application and anything you wish you had known before.
Sara, you want to read first?
Okay, maybe the hardest thing was that sometimes the people you ask to write the letters have many things in mind, so can't remember that you have these specific dates. And I remember being really stressed because one professor wasn't sending the recommendation letter, and the deadline was coming. So maybe the recommendation, after I applied and everything worked perfectly, but some people told me they have told the professors or the people who were recommending you that the deadline was before the real deadline, because they're always really busy people who are making lots of recommendation letters, and sometimes they just forget it.
Awesome. Thanks, Sara.
I think would be frustrated, a bit frustrated trying to find a good recommendator, a letter from others, because I don't know, especially the academic one, because sometimes you left the university and you don't have contact anymore with universities, but something happens. So you have to think first in somebody who knows you very well. It's not about the how to say, the position that the people has. It's more about what the person who is going to write about you really knows you. Don't try to and think many people who apply to Oxford probably works with president, minister. So it's not about that. It's more about how well they know you, and trying to be very consistent between your cover letter. I don't know, I don't remember the specific name of the letters, your essay and recommendations. I mean, your story has to be consistent, and
Right,
this is
like
more
cohesive.
important. Yeah. And see, it could be frustrated sometimes to find who can talks about me, and takes time. Don't left to the last week, because it doesn't work. It's not
Perfect. No, and hence why we have the information session now. Oh, sorry, was someone gonna pop in?
Yes, if I can add something. I was also thinking that it took me a lot of time to decide what to write about in this essay. I also don't remember the specific name of the essay, because I was thinking, so most of the challenges that I have worked in are about Chile, and I didn't know if they were interesting enough for Oxford. And now that I see it, like being here, I think that the most important is to choose a topic that you're really passionate about, because I think that is what like VSG is looking like. When I see my classmates, they're all passionate about different things, but they're all passionate about something. So maybe you can just choose something you think is really important for you.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just going to add, because Francisco's mentioned, sometimes you might not be in contact anymore with, the people where you studied last if you've been out of education for a while. Like I said, you have to have at least 3 references, and we do expect at least one of them to be academic. However, that's not to say you can't have a 4th reference if you want. So if you're worried that that one academic reference maybe won't be the strongest reference because you've not studied for a while, and maybe your supervisor, you've not talked to them in a few years, you can always add another reference if you think that would make it stronger. So don't feel like you're losing a reference by having to use an academic one.
Perfect. Thanks, Beatriz. Benjamin does have one question. I believe this was answered in the presentation, but he's asking if there's a minimum requirement in terms of GPA. I believe the equivalent was a 3.6 out of 4 in US standards, or around there.
Yeah, I think so. The British requirement, so for UK universities, it's a strong 2-1 or a first class degree, and the equivalent of that in US kind of GPA, I think, is a 3.7 roughly. But as we said, that's not a harsh line, in the sense that I think a lot of people think that in Oxford, if your GPA or your scores aren't high enough, then you're an automatic no. But we do look at all of the applications holistically. So of course you need to have a strong academic record, but if you're not quite at that 3.7, you're not an automatic no. We will look at the whole application against the 3 entry requirements that we've already talked about earlier.
And I think Francisco and Sarah and everyone here on this panel will know more than we do, but our understanding is around sort of in Chilean sort of grading. I think it's around 6 out of 7. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that would make sense to me. Yeah, because the grading scale.
I think it's less than 6 out of 7, but I don't know if Francisco remembers, because maybe 6 it's not always easy to get in Chile in some careers.
In my case, I apply with 5.3.
Okay, so I think
I had like 5.5 or something like that, but I don't remember exactly.
Perfect. Well, Benjamin, I hope that certainly answers your question. And we thank everyone for being with us here today. We want to, of course, thank the team at the Blavatnik School of Government, Dr. Richenda and Beatriz, for offering their insight into the school, what to expect, the details of the scholarship, and of course to the Luksic Scholars, Francisco and Sara, for providing us with their firsthand experiences. We certainly hope that you feel that the University of Oxford is accessible to you. We're looking forward to seeing the next group of Luksic Scholars who will be on campus. We're looking forward to meeting you. And of course, we'll send you additional information via email. Feel free to please reach out to any of the teams if you have further questions. We're definitely here to help. Dr. Richenda, Beatriz, Francisco, Sara, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add.
I would just like to say I really loved the points made by Francisco and Sara, just to try and to put in an application, believe it's possible. Don't see Oxford as a sort of, scary, intimidating institution. It is absolutely one that is open for everybody who presents with a strong application, and just put your best and most authentic self into the application that you put together. Make clear what your passion and purpose is, and just, we love reading the applications. We really enjoy it, and we're just already excited to read anything that you might put together. So please apply.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Richenda. Thank you, everyone. And we hope you have a good rest of your day. Take care.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.